Since I arrived back from Korea, a lot of the boys have been hitting me up for a tier list, asking if I noticed any champions or just what champions were working in Korea that maybe weren't working back in OS, or just something that stood out to you, so that I could make a tier list to try and help you guys out with your champion pools. Now, just getting into it, first off a disclaimer that this tier list is based off champions' kits and their strengths in helping you to climb elo. It's not really based off ease of use. There is some champions in my B tier list that is a little bit influenced by ease of use, such as the Annie, such as the Karthus, such as the Malzahar, and a couple of the other champions. But in the S tier and the A tier, no ease of use is there. It's just the pure strength of the kit, and if you master that kit, what that can do for your elo, and if it can help you to climb. Make note, guys, I'm a mid laner. All of the mid lane champions are tested by me. It's my own opinion for the mid lane. The rest is more so just observable data that I've got from playing SoloQ, from Diamond 3 up into the Masters in Korea. Some of it else is just doing some research on OPGG, or just asking around other high elo players what they think of certain champions and their kits. So before I get 100 questions about why some champions aren't on my S tier or aren't on a list altogether, it's not necessarily that I think your champion or that champion is bad. It's just that I think that these S tier champions probably do a better job, and over 100 games or more, if you've mastered them, are going to give you a better win rate. An example could be, to say Victor. I haven't included Victor on this list at all. I don't think personally Victor's a bad champion. I just think there's champions that do better jobs, don't need as much scaling and resources to climb with, such as the Syndra, such as the Orianna or the Talia. I think they're just better versions of the champion. And if you can master any champion, you should master my S tier rather than going for something like a Victor. So obviously, guys, I'm not going to go over every single champion on this list. I'm mainly going to go through the S tier and maybe a couple of unique A and B tier champions. So when it comes to the top lane, guys, Jax, Kled, Renekton, 3 really great split pushes. They all have kill pressure in lane, and they have some form of engage or flank tools during the mid to late game to give you a really solid win condition. I personally started banning Jax in Korea. The amount of one-trick Jax players that I versed that just stomped my entire team and rolled me over in the game was ridiculous. I actually had to start banning it. That's how incredibly strong this champion was. I believe there was a player in Korea who reached top 10 on the server with Jax. I will leave a link in the description of that Jax player, so maybe you can watch some of his VODs to try and improve your own gameplay of it. Next up is the Kled. Obviously, the Kled ulti is huge in SoloQ. People don't really respect it, especially in lower elos. They probably don't even know what the Kled ult really does. So you can just group up with your team, hard engage, and if you're ahead, you can just snowball the game and end it very, very quickly. So jumping into the junglers in the S tier, you've got Cho'Gath, Maokai, Sejuani, and Gragas. Now, in Korea, tank junglers weren't that huge, but the meta has shifted as I arrived back home. These tank junglers are really, really good. They're tanky as fuck, they have nice % health chunks, and they have some form of engage tool, which in SoloQ is huge. I believe if you main 1 or 2 of these tank junglers in SoloQ and spam them, you're definitely going to be able to climb during 7:15. Going into the S tier mid lane is you got Talia, LeBlanc, Kassadin, Syndra, Cassiopeia, and Orianna. Now, if I had to pick one champion out of this S tier mid lane pick, I would go with the Talia. It is extremely potent, it has great roam, great push. The kit has really everything you need in a mid laner, and I think right now, on 7:15, Talia is the best champion to play in SoloQ. Not really many people know how to play against it. You can pick them off with a W very often. In lower elos, nobody respects their roams. It is super easy to climb with. So if I had to recommend one champion in the mid lane to climb with right now, it'd be Talia. 2 champions that came super close to making the S tier list for mid laners were Aurelion Sol and Talon. They're really, really great roamers for SoloQ, and if you master them, you're going to have a very high win rate. However, I think that these champions can only be picked in certain scenarios, while opposed to something like an Orianna, a Talia, or even a Syndra can be picked every single game and have the same consistent results. Heading down to the bot lane, you have got Twitch, Draven, Tristana, Caitlyn, and Kog'Maw. In Korea, Twitch and Draven had the best performance by far, outperforming any other AD carry. The only other one that came close was the Caitlyn. Now, the ability for Twitch to abuse stealth or Draven to hard stomp his lane and take towers early for a snowball it just works extremely well, and I definitely recommend these 2 champions if you're looking for something to exploit in 7:15. Rounding off for my S tier supports is going to be Thresh, Blitz, and Leona. Now, in Korean SoloQ, Thresh and Blitz are banned roughly 60 to 70% of my games. You can hardly ever get your hands on these champions. The reason being is they're hard engage, hard CC, they simply roam all game, and they exert so much pressure on the map. I definitely recommend trying them out in your SoloQ games. Then heading over to Leona, it's just a hard stomp, hard carry. Now these 3 champions as a support You can have so much influence on the map. You go Moby Boots early, roam across the map, hit your skill shots, and you will carry the game 100%. Alright, now that I've covered the S tier champions, I want to go over a couple of unique or definitely underrated champions in the A and B tiers. The first champion I think that needs to be addressed is Akali. It recently received buffs. The rank 1 NA player got to rank 1 playing without these current buffs. So I think if you want to pick up a new champion or want to exploit something in this patch, Akali top lane is definitely your go-to. The second champion that I think is going to have a lot of success on 7.15 is Echo. Echo just received some buffs in 7.15, a little bit of laning buff to help him get some more trades off early on onto these control mages that he plays so well into, such as the Syndra. I definitely think if you're looking for a nice split pushing mid laner, go for the Echo in this patch. The third champion I want to talk about is Sivir. The Sivir buffs on 7.15 are huge. You get a huge spike early on, and I think it's going to help you transition into the mid and late game with leads over your opponent. Combine that with the tank meta such as the Mount guy, I think that Sivir is a pick to watch out for, and definitely a pick that you can exploit on 7.15. The next champion I'm going to hit up is the Eve. I think Eve, as a jungler, is one of the best champions in the game for SoloQ. Now the reason being is it asserts pressure over the entire map. It's similar to Twisted Fate when he hits level 6. You've always got to play on the enemy team, you've got to play wary, you've got to play safe. If you have Eve and you're not spotted on the map, the enemy team is forced to play safe. Now, I ran into a lot of Eve 1 tricks over in Korea. I even ran into one with a 90% win rate in Diamond 1. These players really know how to exploit their vision. I think definitely if you want to pick up a jungler, looking for maybe even an off-roll jungler, learn how to play Eve and exploit it. The next champion I'm going to touch on is Aurelion Sol, currently with the highest win rate in Korea. Now, I do admit Aurelion Sol needs a lot of practice to work out, but if you put the time in and invest in yourself to learn these mechanics, I definitely think this pick, if you master it, is going to give you really great results on 7.15. The last champion I want to touch on is Nasus. Now, Nasus received quite a large buff against heavy tanks with lots of armor, and furthermore, his ultimate, you're getting double the Qs off now while the ultimate's going. I definitely think this is a champion to look out for in 7.15. Give it a couple of days to try and test out to see what the win rates are going to look like, but I definitely think out of all champions, Akali and Nasus are the ones to look out for in 7.15. Probably going to be holding a pretty high win rate during this patch. Wrapping up this tier list, boys, I'm going to be streaming over on Twitch TV. Come by, ask me a couple of questions about a specific champion, why it's there, why it isn't there. Maybe even ask me about a build path. And I'd love you to ask me, especially if you're mid laner, you know, what player in SoloQ can I watch to kind of improve my own gameplay? An example could be Apto for Twisted Fate or Cassian, Ucal for Talia, or even Crown for something like a Cassiopeia or an Oriana. So that's about it, boys. If you guys like this or enjoyed it, I might be doing more in the future. If not, obviously not. But it's just my opinion on SoloQ champions, what I've been observing, what I'm seeing for the patch. Hopefully you guys can pick up one of these champions, one or two of these champions, spam it over 7.15, really abuse it and climb up the ranks. But until next time, guys, I'll catch you later, and thanks for watching.